The cab in our cab stand, it doesn't appear that there's a driver, but there are two people inside the cab, one in the passenger seat and one in the rear of the vehicle. One of the people in the passenger seat looks like she's hunched over, and she has blood coming from her ear. It doesn't look like they're alive to me.
I understand that. We've got our officers en route.
There's a capital murder trial going on for Yaser Said. It began this week in Dallas County Court. There you heard a 911 call from someone who came upon a scene of two young girls that apparently were close to at least deceased in a cab. That's from 2008 though, but the trial is happening just now because the person that they now have on trial has been on the run for 12 years. So that call came an hour after one of the victims, her name is Sarah Said, placed also her own 911 call. Now, warning here, it's violent and graphic, the sounds that you'll hear from her as she's calling the police about what had happened to her. So let's watch.
What's going on, ma'am?
I'm dying, that's what's up.
Irving Fire Department. Ma'am, are you still there? Ma'am, are you still there? All I've got is she's telling me she's dying. I've got a, why are you still there, ma'am? Ma'am, what is your address? Ma'am.
The line then did cut off, and as you heard, then later someone also found them. Let's go to details as they're going into this trial. So this audio is from 2008, just moments after prosecutors say that Yaser Said shot his daughter and her sister, his other daughter, 18-year-old Amina, in a quote honor killing, having learned that they had begun dating and that he could no longer control them. It also came after the daughters hatched a plan to escape their father 2 weeks prior, even successfully relocating before being persuaded to go back to Texas after being reported missing. Now, more than 14 years after prosecutors say that Said lured his family back into town after their escape and fatally shot his daughters, the 65-year-old is now on trial for capital murder. If convicted, he faces life in prison. Attorneys for Said say that the former taxi driver only became a suspect because he's Muslim and that the investigation into the murders was botched. He's pleaded not guilty to that. So let's look at some of these warning signs that also led to it, because they have a bunch of evidence, a bunch of texts, emails, diaries, things that went down to point out how this could potentially be directed at the father in this particular case. So from the Daily Beast says, this is a serious case about a man obsessed with possession and control. That's what the prosecutor, Lauren Black, said during opening statements. He controlled what they did, who they talked to, who they could be friends with, if they and who they could date. And he controlled everything in his household. Again, Lauren Black told jurors that Said had grown angrier in the weeks leading up to the murders after feeling that he had lost control of his wife and his daughters, who had been dating non-Muslim men. It wasn't until December of 2007 when prosecutors alleged that Said put a gun to Amina's head and threatened to kill her, that the teenagers and their mother began to hatch their plan to escape, and that was right before Christmas. So again, as I mentioned, Said had previously, he had denied any responsibility for this, but there was witnesses. There was the potential boyfriends that they were dating, they were mad about. They were involved, that they testified as this all went down. So more from that. 2 weeks before lambing it, the Said daughters and their boyfriends, Edgar Ruiz and Eric Panamino, began to organize the escape plan. Panamino said on the witness stand Tuesday they knew about the plan and that he had to keep his relationship with Sarah a secret because, quote, something bad would happen to me or something bad would happen to her if the father found out. Louisville High School history teacher, it gets worse. The history teacher at the high school, Renee Hopkins, told jurors that on December 21st of 2007, she received an email from Amina informing her of her plans to leave and begging for her secrecy, asking Hopkins not to tell the police. Amina said that her father had begun arranging a marriage for the teenager and that she was supposed to get married this year. This is what she said: "He will, without any doubt or without any drama or doubt, kill us," Amina wrote in an email that was read in court. She also said, "He has simply made our lives a nightmare. He's one man, not God." Now, prosecutors alleged that Said eventually lured his daughters back into his taxi where Amina was sitting on the front passenger seat and Sarah was in the back, and that Owens had told, Owens is their mother, was told to stay home as he drove them around. Authorities believe that the daughters were shot before 7:30 in the evening near that Omni Hotel where they were found. Again, the defense was talking about how it's just because he's Muslim is the reason why they're coming after him, and that all this happened because they say he's Muslim. I'm not sure if that's only the last grasp that they're holding on to, but that's a bit of an indictment towards Muslims in general. This is just what they do.
Absolutely.
This is a controlling father who thought he could do something like this. I mean, again, allegedly.
No, I think that's exactly the point, JR. I'm sorry to cut you off. And that is what I think we need to focus on here. And also see that the ways that now US laws empower abusive fathers and abusive men or abusive people in the form of lax gun control. And abortion rights being stripped away. Imagine if one of those girls had become impregnated, right? Like suddenly she is no longer in control of her body. Here she's not in control of her body when it comes to dating someone. And again, religious orthodoxy is the same across religion. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't think that there are Christian fathers who are just as strict and just as controlling of their daughters? No, that's what this backsliding into the medieval times that we're going through in this country is all about. So, I mean, this is a perfect storm. Guns, control of women's bodies, and it cuts across religion and ethnicity and everything.
But that kind of defense is what exactly some of the defenders to allowing more of the widespread use of guns and also this controlling mindset over what you can and can't do and what your daughter is allowed to do. I think one of the daughters was 18 years old, 18 and 17 or 17 and 16, something like that. There's just a mindset that goes across that. And if you promote that, there's people who take it to that extent. And then you can wash your hands of it and then say, oh yeah, that's just because he's Muslim. Bro, that's more offensive on top of the rest of it all.